Good morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Mindset Monday. I'm excited to be here today. I'm excited you're here, whether you are here live or you are listening at a later date. Thank you for showing up. I am excited about what we're going to be talking about today because leadership and leadership strategies is always very, very close to my heart. And today, our topic is, are we stepping up to the leadership plate? And what does that mean for all of us? Good morning, Derek. Good morning to all of you that are filing in, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook. I'm happy to have you. Stepping up to the leadership plate, there are 5 different things we're going to be going over today under that leadership nuances, I'm going to call it. Tough conversations, that's always a big one. Mass courage, because it takes so much courage to be a great leader. Enduring energy. I know we're tired a lot, right? But I want to talk about enduring energy and what that means. Cultivating fun. It's a big one for leadership. And leadership nuances. These are the little things that people might not notice as a leadership trait, but they're massive in what separates great leaders from good leaders. So let's get into it this morning. I have a ton of notes. And listen, what does stepping up to the plate really mean? I mean, leadership isn't the title, it's not the office, it's not the job. Leadership to me is what happens when the easy answers, the easy thing to do, isn't available anymore. That's when real leadership is calling on you to show up. Real leadership happens when things get uncomfortable. And listen, the true test of leadership happens when someone's not performing, right? When one of your top stylists leaves, when the numbers are low, when your energy is low, and when you have to make a decision that you think nobody's going to like, but you know that it's best for your business. That's what I want to talk about today. That's what I want you to start to harness as a leader is it's those hard things. It's easy to lead a booming business where all the staff is happy and you're at the top of your game. That's the easy part. But how to keep it there, how to keep the respect, how to keep the energy going. So let's get into tough conversations. Let's start with this topic that most people avoid, which is tough conversations. Listen, I don't like confrontation, is what I usually hear. Well, I don't like it either. But we have to confront tough conversations. And avoiding the conversation doesn't eliminate the problem. So let me just say that one more time for the people in the back of the room. Avoiding the conversation, the hard conversation, does not make the problem go away. So every difficult conversation that you avoid creates confusion, frustration, resentment, and a lot of mixed messages. So show up and be who you say you're going to be. Show up and take a stand for who you say your company is. Super important. The conversation that you're avoiding is often the conversation that'll set somebody free. It'll give them clarity. It will show them the way. It might lift them up. It might redirect them in a way that you need them redirected. The other tough thing is that tough conversation may be that you decide to part ways. But it may be that one conversation that turns somebody around that you have been avoiding, that is the actual conversation that they needed. Maybe they didn't even know that they needed it. So under this topic of tough conversations, I want to ask you, is there a tough conversation that you've been avoiding? Is there one that you can think of that this week you can go into that might set you free and that might set your stylist free. Next piece for today. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. This item is called mass courage. I don't know. I don't think when I decided to open my businesses, I thought it would take mass courage to show up every day and do the job. I don't know. I was wrong because every single day that I had to show up to work, I had to muster up the courage to have the conversations that I needed to have. And the moments when leadership requires courage is hiring, firing, raising prices, holding boundaries, saying no, and making unpopular decisions. How many decisions have you made or you haven't made because they were unpopular and you were afraid that you were going to be the villain? I've wanted to not make those decisions, but I have pushed myself because my why was always holding my culture, always holding the core values. My why was stronger than not having those conversations. The misconception is that courage is the absence of fear. It's not. Every time I had to have a tough conversation, I got butterflies. I wanted to be stopped. I didn't maybe want to have those tough conversations. Sometimes they're terrifying, right? But I think this is a really important thing to remember, that confidence comes after the action. You might feel terrified and might have to muster up all the courage that you have. And you're thinking, I don't have the confidence to do it. The confidence comes after the action. It doesn't come before the action. So I want you to really hold that you will start feeling more confident when you start taking the right action. And when I say the right action, it doesn't mean what the right action would be for me. It's what the right action is for you and for your company. We keep waiting to feel ready, waiting to have that confidence. But courage is taking the step before that certainty arrives. So I want to empower you that if there is something that you're not doing because you feel afraid, and you're like, I don't have the courage to do that, I want you to do it anyway. Take the step and do it anyway. I'll never forget, I've shared this story before, that I had a super volatile employee. I mean, I've had a few over 32 years, not a ton, but a few to write home about. And this one individual was pretty volatile. He'd come in and have great days, and as big as his energy was when they were great days, it was just as big when they were horrible days. And we did a lot of coaching around that. So, I had to muster up the courage to sit down and do coaching and talk about it. There would always be tears during the conversation or anger, and it was hard. Every conversation was hard. I felt like it ended as good as it could end, hoping to empower this individual. And we got to the point where there were some behaviors that were intolerable to the company. And my responsibility as a leader is to hold a safe space for my team, hold a safe space when they come in, that they feel great about the work they're doing, that they are able to collaborate and not feel scared of somebody or scared of what somebody might say to them. That is a total no pass. And it got to the point with this individual that I knew we had to let him go. And because of the volatility, I was honestly just, I don't want to use the word terrified, but I was scared. A lot of times when I would talk to somebody and we would part ways, I didn't necessarily have another person in the room, but with this individual, I had to have another person in the room. And I knew that it was gonna be a rough one. I knew there would be resistance. I knew there would be huge emotions. I also knew that I needed to hold an amazing space for my team. That was always my why. So I remember in this case, I was freaking nervous and I had all my paperwork together and I reviewed what I was going to say. And it took me a couple of days to not only muster up the courage, I didn't have the confidence yet, but the courage to just set the appointment and do the thing. And it was everything that I thought it was going to be and more. It was rough. And there was some backlash. There was some backlash around defamation of character and backlash around just the anger on the other side. I knew that was going to happen. And I had to stay steady. And after it was over is when I felt confident that I made the right decision. The confidence didn't come when I was thinking of terminating this person. That's when the fear crept up. That's when I had to try to hold on to any bit of courage to just take the first step and do the work. And the confidence came after. The confidence came when the team were like, thank God, that must have been really hard. When the team came up and thanked me for making the decision that needed to be made, even though it was a tough decision. I see this all the time with coaching clients that I work with. This piece, out of all 5 factors that we're talking about today, is one of the toughest, because so many times we are trying to harness the courage before, or the confidence before we do something, but the confidence isn't going to be there. And I want to say it's okay if you don't feel confident, and it's okay if you don't do it perfectly. Try to be organized, have your ducks in a row, have your paperwork in a row, even if it's just a tough conversation and it's not a termination. You will start building that muscle, that confidence muscle, the more you do it. All right. Where in your leadership are you waiting to feel ready? Where are you waiting to feel like I need to just gather the confidence? I want you to lean into that. And I want you to take that action anyways. Grab a little bit of courage. Maybe this live will give you the courage you need to just do it. And then I want you to message me and tell me if you have confidence around that action that you did. All right, we're moving on to number 3. This one, I don't think we talk about a lot, with respect to leadership. Number 3 is enduring energy. Not motivation. I'm not talking about motivation. I'm talking about enduring energy. People feel your energy as a leader. They feed off it. If you are in a bad space and you go into work, your team will feel it. If you're shut down and distracted, your team will feel it. If you have a lot on your mind, your team will feel it. They watch it for your attitude, your reactions, your consistency, and your emotional resilience. This is a big thing, because owning a business, no matter what kind of business it is, or managing, is exhausting. I'm not going to lie. We all want it. We all want to be an owner. We all want to be a manager. We all want to be in a leadership role. But then we get in that role and we are like, this is draining me of everything I have. Yeah. So how do I stay positive, right? The question isn't how do I stay positive? The question is, how do I protect my energy so I can continue to serve my team? How do I uphold the boundaries I need? How do I take some time away to refill my cup? How do I spend time with friends? Make sure that I gain the perspective that I need. How do I show up and practice gratitude? Because a lot of times when we're feeling exhausted, and think about this for a minute, when we're feeling super grateful and things are going great, even though we're really busy, we're not zapped of our energy. we actually have more energy. But when we start losing the perspective, when we start losing what we're grateful for, when we stop practicing giving back to ourselves, and sometimes that doesn't happen all in one day. You know, Susan Scott from Fierce Conversations has this saying that things usually show up, big things, gradually, then suddenly. So if gradually you're letting your boundaries slip, if gradually you're not giving yourself the energy you need the way you need it, maybe you practice meditation, maybe you work out, maybe you spend time with friends, maybe whatever it is that you do. If you slowly start letting that slip, that's gradually, then suddenly you're going to feel zapped. You're going to feel drained, and your team is going to feel it. So as a leader, it's up to you to know what thing zaps your energy and what is the thing that you need this week to give back to yourself, because your team is a reflection of the energy you come in with consistently every single day. So how do you come in consistent? And I'm not talking about toxic positivity where it's fake positivity. I'm not talking about that, where you are pretending to be positive. People can see through that in a heartbeat. You need to exude that energy that you're sharing with your team, and you're radiating that. Enduring energy is something that also separates a good leader from a great leader. You're never going to see a great leader and be like, wow, they're zapped. They don't have the energy today. You're not going to see that. Great leaders, no matter what kind of business you're in, take time out to take care of themselves so they are not making crappy decisions. When you're tired, you're not making good decisions. You're not seeing things through the lens of what the reality is. Maybe we're overreacting. Maybe we start becoming shut down. Enduring energy is something that we have to give to ourselves. All right, think about this week what you can do to give yourself an energy boost. I need to take a sip of my coffee for my energy boost. Good morning, you peeps coming in. Good to see you, Audrey Kahn. Good to see you. If you're here, throw me a shout out on Instagram or Facebook. And what is the thing that so far we have talked about? What have we talked about today? All right, what have we covered? We've covered tough conversations so far. We've talked about mass courage that we need. We have talked about enduring energy. All right, we've covered some big things. All right, number 4 is one that I love talking about because it's cultivating fun. As a leader, even somebody, maybe if you think about where you used to work, or maybe a job that you worked out before you were a leader. If you had fun at that job, you were more likely to want to stay, want to participate in the fun. If it was all transactional, that felt flat. There were no deep connections. As a leader, it is up to us to create a fun environment where your team feel connected. When was the last time you guys all laughed together, where you felt like a connected, fun team, where you did something together, or day to day you had some funny joke or riff that lasted throughout the day that everybody was involved in, that just lifted people's spirits? Creating a fun environment is critical for enduring spirit. When you are creating a fun environment, it's actually easier to have the tough conversations because everything isn't so heavy. And that's what we call an emotional deposit. All of these things that we're talking about are emotional deposits to the team. Yes, we talked about having tough conversations, but also having great conversations. Calling your team into the office to tell them how great they're doing and what you're seeing that they're doing. That's good. That's an emotional deposit. Walking by somebody and dropping a compliment. That's presence of mind, having fun, celebrating people. Find things to celebrate people around, whether it's their anniversary, their birthday, they had some big milestone, they did something for the first time. Create a celebratory, fun environment. All right, people stay where people most likely stay where they're laughing, they feel cared about, and they feel celebrated. So ask yourself, because I'm giving you little homeworks after each one of these categories, where do you need to bring more fun? Or maybe you have a super fun environment and you create so much fun that you're avoiding tough conversations. So we're not going to be good at all of these, right? It's like we're juggling and we have like, okay, well, I have a hard time having tough conversations, but we bring a lot of fun to work. Okay, well, we need to start then saying if it's natural for you to bring fun, and that kind of comes naturally, the muscle you need to work on is the tough conversations. If you're always feeling like your energy is zapped, that needs to change, because then your team is going to have zapped energy. People that have zapped energy are not performers. So all of these things put together, tough conversations, mass courage, enduring energy, cultivating fun. The last piece of this is, to me, what I don't know if people don't talk about it or they don't really recognize what a nuance is. Nuanced leadership. What's a nuance? A nuance is something that isn't really spoken, that's felt, that's seen, that you do that is small but makes a really big impact. Nuanced leadership. This is what separates the goods from the greats. The little things. This is something that it's hard to teach. When I don't even teach nuanced leadership until I've had clients that have been with me for quite some time. I have a few clients that have been with me for years, and we are in an era now of our coaching or mentoring sessions where we are getting into nuances, and I have to practice my nuanced listening to be able to teach nuanced leadership. So I have to really listen to my clients and ask a lot of questions. Well, what did you say when that happened? And I listen for what was said, and then I can take a screenshot of that and say, let's take this as an example and get into the nuance of maybe what would have elevated that comment or that behavior. So nuanced leadership, remembering someone's spouse's name, following up after a hard conversation. Sometimes we have tough conversations and they end well. They could end well even though they were tough, but we just carry on and we move on. And nuanced leadership would be to check back in. How are you doing since we spoke last? That's authentic caring, right? That's nuance. That's not, I'm just now going back about the business. It's checking back in. Sending a text after a win. That reminds me of finding people doing things right. It's really easy to be a frustrated leader and find people doing things wrong all the time. An amazing nuanced leader finds people doing things right, and in the quiet moments, sends them a text, sends them a card, pulls them into their office and says, I see you. You're doing amazing. Asking one more question. Think about that for a minute. It's easy to be curious and ask questions about either a situation that's happening or something that's going on in one of your team's lives. Sometimes it's that additional question, that one extra question that's going to give you information that you can be a better leader around, that you can take a better action, that you can then care a little bit deeper. Listening a little bit longer. Sometimes as leaders and as a spouse and as a parent, because we're all leaders in our lives, like no matter what we're doing, listening a little bit longer is really powerful. Using the words, tell me a little bit more about that, really powerful. Because when someone's talking, this could just be me. You could tell me if this is you, but this could just be me. I got a lot of thoughts about what someone's talking about. I got a lot of thoughts about what I want to say next while someone's talking, which means I'm not super present when they're talking. But if I focus on just listening and I ask one more question and I listen a little bit longer, even as a spouse, even as a parent, I learn a lot that little bit longer. That's sometimes where the magic happens. It's not in the cutting off. It's not in waiting for you to be the one to speak next about what somebody should hear you say. Sometimes it's just listening and letting it drop and being. Leadership isn't usually one grand gesture, right? It's not like one big thing that you do. It's the hundreds of tiny nuanced things that you are aware of because you're as a present leader that you choose to do every single day. Tiny moments say, I see you, I care, you matter, without saying those things. All of that, all of those behaviors are nuanced behaviors that take you to a different level of leadership. The best leaders that I've ever seen have this down, this nuanced leadership. They have it down. People don't always remember what you say, but people always remember how you made them feel. It's in those nuanced moments of listening, of asking that question, that people feel seen. And these things that we talked about today, these tough conversations, having massive courage, enduring energy, cultivating fun, leadership nuances, all of these pieces, if you can visualize, they're all strings or ties that you have this employee or this staff member here, and you're casting your line into having these conversations. You're casting the line into having the courage to do things that are hard. You're having the courage to figure out how I have enduring energy. You have the courage to say, maybe I have a hard time cultivating fun, but I'm going to figure out how to do it. You cast another line. You cast more lines with all of these nuanced behaviors and things that you say and do. And all of these lines that you cast create stronger loyalty, more love, an easier way to work. Even though the things you did were tough, it creates an easier way to work because your team are clear. Brene Brown says, clear is kind. You're clear. The expectations are clear. Everybody knows where they stand. Nobody is fearful. They're walking around knowing that we are lined up with who we say we are. So when we talk about it takes courage to step up to that leadership plate and have those tough conversations, I want your homework this week is to ask yourself, what is leadership calling me to do that I have chosen to not do because it feels scary? I don't have the energy. We're not asking for perfection. We're just asking that you show up and you take that next right step. What is that next right step to you? So listen, this was my next right step, was showing up and being here today. I love seeing all you guys. George, good to see you. Shelby, good to see you. Miss Gamma, be still my heart. Christine, Taylor, thank you for showing up. Lynn, thank you for showing up. If there's more of you out there that I'm not seeing, thank you so much for being here. If you're watching the recording, listen, there's more to come. You can also, on my YouTube channel, Carrie Davis Consulting, I probably have 50 or 60 lives that you can go back and look at. They're all living there. And I want to tell you one other thing. I am doing an amazing mastermind group coming up on July 20th. If you're interested, go to my website, click in that top corner, mastermind group, look at it. It's a 6-month mastermind group with Wynn Claybaugh, James Morrison, Gordon Miller, Lupe Voss, Luca Boccia, Wynn Claybaugh. I cannot even wait for this. So if you want to join, it's $2.99 a month for 6 months, and it's got a small little intimate group of amazing owners, and you will be up close and personal with Van Council. Did I mention him? And I'm so excited for that. So jump onto my website, carriedavisconsulting.com, sign up if you haven't already. And it was just great being here with you guys today. Shelby, so glad to see you. I'm glad that this was good for you. You guys, this will live on my Facebook page for, I don't know how long Facebook keeps it on, which is why I transfer it over to my YouTube channel. So it'll be on the YouTube channel today. Have your leaders watch it, rewatch it again. I wish you just the best week. Happy 4th of July. I'll be back in a couple of weeks, and I hope to see you. It's 4th of July, and then I'll be on vacation for about 10 days. So I'll be back in a couple weeks, the end of July maybe. But if you're interested in that mastermind group, come on in. I can't wait to see you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Have a great day, guys. Bye.